Well, this time around, I'm in Jakobsdal, which is bordering the Free State and the Northern Cape. I'm going to be speaking with Jacqui and Keith Middleton and their son, Kyle. Now, they've been slogging at it for the last 15 years, and besides all the challenges that they're facing, they want to expand this fantastic, sizable operation. I want to find out from them how they plan this expansion. How's it, gents?
Good, thanks,
Keith,
Tony. How are you?
Are you well? Kyle?
Good, thanks. How are you, Tony?
Very good,
Hi,
thank you. Keith.
welcome to African Joy.
No, fantastic. Thank you so much for having our team here in Kimberley. It's a beautiful morning. First thing I like to do is have a bit of coffee. You guys want to join me for some coffee?
Definitely.
Please.
That'll be great.
Best coffee in the world.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keith, Kyle, you enjoying the coffee?
Yes, very
It's
much.
good coffee. Yeah?
Lovely coffee.
Proper coffee. All right, guys. So, Keith, you're out of KZN. How did you end up this side of town?
Man, it's a long story, but I was in business. That's what brought me here to this area and in Kimberley for 5 years before I actually got to the farm.
Yeah.
We here on the farm now for the last 15 years.
15 years.
Yeah.
Must have been seeing a lot of things in the last 15 years.
Yeah, we've been through a lot,
Yeah.
and we've survived it all.
I mean, you're making light of some of the trials and tribulations. I mean, your dad was telling me a little bit earlier, to give an example. I mean, you've been up and downs on the farm in terms of business, but you've also had to fight some personal battles in terms of the farmers around you, getting them to get used to you farming here amongst them. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, when we got here, it was tough. You're a black man in a white man's world, in both location as well as race. And it wasn't easy. I mean, 15 years ago, democracy was still new and attitudes were still old. So we had to endure all that hardship in terms of rejection and insults and so on. But we've overcome that. And the very people that were our persecutors are now our friends.
Yeah.
So we've really built up a good relationship with our neighbors, and it helped us because we've had to learn from them.
Yeah.
And that's why where we are today. It's because, not just because how smart we are, but we've had neighbors around us as mentors.
Talk about learning. What have you learned, Kyle, in terms of what your parents have been through? I mean, you were here, you went off to school, and you came back. Talk to me about your experience here on African Joy.
My experience on African Joy, I think growing up, I wouldn't say I grew up here, but we've been on the farm since I was 13. There was a lot of lessons that I've learned personally, but a lot of hardships and work ethic. I think work ethic is the biggest thing I've learned from my parents on the farm.
Yeah.
Nothing comes easy, and we've got to keep pushing, even though weather might be against us or people might be against us. We've got to stick together and try our best.
Now, where would you say African Joy is right now, Keith?
I think we at a stage where we want to grow beyond semi-commercial. We actually want to be fully fledged commercial farmers, and we just need that little push. And I think I've brought the farm thus far, and I think it's KG's job now to take it further into commercialization.
Are you feeling the pressure?
Not at all.
The
I feel somewhat, obviously. There is always some sort of pressure, especially when you're trying to provide for your family at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But I think I have the skills, I have the education, and I always wanted to do this. This has been a dream since I was a kid. So, yeah.
I mean, your mum, she's not with us. I mean, we'll talk to her a little bit later on in the show. Jacqui, she's been a major part of this, hasn't she? Right by your side all the way, Keith.
Absolutely. I always say, if you got a good woman by your side, nothing can stop you. And she's been a major support and also encourager and through it all. We've been through some rough times together, but that's what has solidified our relationship and just bound us as a family.
My role on the farm is firstly to look after the family, my husband and my son. And then I also do admin, especially the HR. When KJ was born, his first few years, I mean, I think every little boy loves tractors, but he would claim them, my tractor, wherever he saw it, my cows. And then he started calling himself Farmer KJ. So to have reached this point where Farmer KJ is now farming, and we are able to have paved the way for him, it's just an absolute blessing.
So 26 years old, right, Kyle? You go off and you decide to come back after your education onto a farm. Why?
Why not?
I mean, there's so many things. You could be, what do they do these days? An influencer, that type of stuff.
No, definitely. I'm actually, I would consider myself an agricultural influencer.
Yes, fantastic.
So I enjoy farming. I think for me personally, it was a way to also look after my parents. I'm the youngest and I'm the only son, and I have a responsibility to my parents. I enjoy farming as well, and I think it's the future. We've got to also protect our farmlands and food security in our country. And I felt like it was a major way to add back to South Africa by providing jobs or growing this business to a position where it can help more than just my family, but our workers' families and people around us. I think I wanted to do more with my life than working corporate.
So Keith, 15 years later, what are your greatest achievements here?
Tony, I'd say I've always wanted to have a family-run business. I've achieved that. I've had both my kids in the business, and it's been absolutely fantastic working with them.
One last question, Kyle. How difficult is it to work with your parents?
It has its ups and downs. I think me and my dad clash heads a lot because we just extremely differently, we wire differently, we work differently, but we find a midpoint between our differences to work together, and it's been a privilege to work with both my parents.
Gents, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed my coffee. I did not enjoy your mosquitoes, by the way. Just all over the place. But let's take some time out and just go show me through your whole operation.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Welcome back, Mzansi. Now, a vision is a fantastic thing to have, but you have to try and turn it into reality. And that's what Kyle is here for. He's going to help turn his father's vision into reality. I'm going to find out from him and from his dad how they're going to do that for African Joy. All right, Kyle, tell me about your operation. What are you guys farming here? What commodities do you have?
Tony, we mostly focused on irrigation farming. We've got 117 hectares of maize currently in, and we planted about 60 hectares of lucerne, and we've diversified and try and improve our farm and planted an extra 10 hectares of pecan trees. We also have sheep, about 300 Merino sheep, and 150 Bonsmara cows.
I got your dad, Keith, doing a little bit of work here. But Keith, so many things that you're doing on the farm. What's your main focus, though?
Tony, we want to actually increase our pecan nut operation. Though it's long term, but the profitability is actually very good.
Yeah.
And so that will be our future focus for the next few years.
Yeah, so we've also started focusing more on technology, investing in new technology. We've installed VSDs. I'm a young person, so I enjoy technology.
Yeah.
We're able to start most of our pivots on the phone.
Yeah.
It saves power, and that's the way we're going to grow in the future. To be a future-fit farm, we've got to install and have future-fit equipment, and we've got to think about the future. My qualifications helped me to run this business a lot. I'm a cost and management accounting, so I track every single cost that happens. We have KPIs, if I can put it that way, of our labor cost per hectare, our labor cost per animal. We track our profit margins per hectare, and at the end of the day, profit is what counts, and we chase profit. So my studies helped me manage the business in that way by looking at the finances and then going into the field and making practical changes.
And I'm sure the climate that you're in also comes with its own challenges. I mean, we're talking about irrigation. That's what you rely on your farm. Keith, speak to me a bit about your water rights.
Tony, we've had challenges as black farmers when we're entering into the sector. where water is not freely available for us as black farmers. And it's been an ongoing battle for the last 15 years as to how to get more water to grow our operation. We actually the chairperson of the Transformation of Water Committee on a national level with an organization called AFASA. And we've been working on strategies and trying to get access for black people for water in this country, especially irrigation water we're talking about.
You've had to change focus from your lucerne to growing commodities. Why?
Tony, with the change in weather, the La Nina weather cycle, we've had to think a bit differently. We need about a week and a half to cut lucerne and get it off and sold. And we just haven't had a break in weather. So we've had to change to commodities. It's turned out to be a great idea. I think we wouldn't be here talking if we didn't make that change.
But listen, when you talk about growth these days, and one of the buzz phrases everybody's talking about is processing in terms of minerals, in terms of everything.
Yes.
Your growth strategy, are you also taking cognizance of that?
Yes, definitely. It's something that is on our roadmap. I think in the next year, I think we have a goal before 2025 to actually have an agro-processing plant set up. In a value chain, there's only so much money and value that you can take out of it, and forward integration is the next step for farmers to take.
Yeah.
We are considering putting up a feed mill. We already worked on our proposal with IDC. Hopefully before the end of this year we'll have a 5-ton an hour feed mill that will be operational, and it makes sense. You put a factory where your raw materials are. It doesn't make sense to move it somewhere else, and you have to ship and move everything there. It saves on costs. It's better for the environment, and I mean, if you look at the fuel prices now, it only makes sense too.
Yeah, don't talk about fuel prices right now. It's not rocket science. It makes a lot of sense. When you mentioned the IDC, keep the support at all from government, from institutions that are looking at black farmers and saying, listen, you do need our support. Are they forthcoming with that support?
Tony, I'd say yes and no, in the sense that we did get initial support from government in the form of a recap from rural development. We did get some support from Department of Agriculture, but what we need to understand in a farming environment, you need ongoing support as a black farmer. It's not a once-off event or a piecemeal funding. You need to fund farmers what we call holistically, so that the farmers then, over a 5 to 7 year period, so that after that they become commercial and then they can take care of themselves. Because we're land reform beneficiaries, we don't own the land. The land is still in state hands. We have a 30-year lease with the option to buy, and this ties us up. We cannot use the farm as security.
Yeah.
And that's a setback for us as black farmers.
Talk to me about your workers.
I think we've got a very good group of guys. They play a massive role in their understanding, their experience, and what we also got to understand is farm workers aren't educated per se, but they've got so many practical skills that we wouldn't be able to run this farm without it. We try from our side as African Joy to invest in our workers.
We've realized that we need to uplift our people and pay them well. So our motto is we have few workers, but they're all well-paid workers. We make sure that they get bonuses. We make sure that they get policies and that kind of thing. So we look after our workers and our workers look after us.
One quick sentence, where to next for African Joy?
I think my big goal is to be the best young farmer in South Africa. By 2025, I think I've set that goal for myself. By the end of this year, I'd like to register Bonsmara stud. Next year will be the sheep, and we've already improved the farm in terms of efficiencies and improving our bottom line and made it more sustainable.
So gentlemen, I come bearing gifts. If I could give you just one wish, what would you wish for?
Tony, if the state can hand over title deeds to us as land beneficiaries, that would be the best for me.
Kyle?
And for me, any financial assistance to help me increase production, that will help. I think that's our biggest struggle at the moment.
These farmers have such a clear vision for growth. A future-fit farm with cutting-edge technology, water rights for black farmers, a feed mill, and a dream to hold the title deed to this land. Well, I'm certainly rooting for them. Welcome back to African Farming Mzansi. Now, unpredictable weather, soaring input costs, theft, diseases, these are only some of the challenges that farmers have to face. And despite those challenges, they have to persevere, show determination, and try by any means to grow their operations. Keith Middleton and his son Kyle have shown immense growth over the past 15 years, and they're not done just yet. Now we've heard from them, it's time to speak to our panel of agricultural gurus to share their advice on growth despite challenges. Now joining us in studio, Johan from Vleis and Trot. Johan, are you well?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good. Also, Rasilane, good to see you representing AfriVet. How are you doing?
Thank you so much, Tony. Thank you for having me here.
Fantastic. Praveen, your chair, you moved a little bit there.
I have. Thanks, Tony.
Fantastic.
Always good
Moving
being here.
closer. We're getting closer as time
Absolutely.
goes
Absolutely.
on. All right, Nico from Standard Bank, are you well?
Well, thank you, Tony.
Fantastic. Good to see you. All right, let's talk about the serious matter of growth, gentlemen. It's a tough thing during challenging times. Well, Johan, so from an auction perspective, how can farmers achieve growth through businesses such as yours?
The auction is the ideal place for the farmers to grow because that's the place where they market their products, their animals, and through auctions as the ideal place for setting the market price. I think that's ideal for them to grow in their business as farmers.
All right, Johan, please talk to us about the risks within the process that you mentioned.
And these days, we've got the biosecurity rules that's applicable at auctions that the auction houses are implementing. But it gets back to the farmer who must start with his own biosecurity at farm level before he presents his animals at any auction to minimize the risks.
Rasilani, obviously the high feed prices are a challenge to farmers, and also just looking at general health. I mean, everything costs money. How can they overcome some of those challenges?
Thank you so much, Tony. Yes, there are indeed many challenges, but there are ways that we can come up with to mitigate what we are currently going through. I mean, the first one is lack of training. Farmers, they don't have training, but the training is available. There are so many organizations that offer free training. There are those ones that offer a paid one. And then there are diseases, again, that we find all over the country, more especially after the recent rains that we had. If they should follow the vaccination program properly. The other one, it's a lack of feed. Farmers need to have plan in place to prepare for the coming lack of feed that we're going to face during winter. The other one is it's a stock theft that is currently taking place around the country. Farmers, they need to be part of organizations. They need to become members of organizations like a stock theft unit. There are local organizations that assist farmers to look after their animals. The other one is a lack of veterinary support. There is an assistance available in that regard. Farmers, they just need to come closer to the agents. They need to come closer to veterinary officials. They need to come closer again to their organizations where this information is circulated. There is a lack of access to veterinary products as well. These products are available. We've got co-ops throughout the countries. We've got agents that can actually take these products closer to the farmer.
Praveen, growth is a wonderful thing in any particular business, but you also have to create capacity, don't you?
Yeah, 100%, Tony. Growth is the ultimate aim, of course. You know, we don't want to stagnate at any level, but I think what is very important for farmers to do it is in a controlled way, in a sustainable way, because you don't want to have, a sudden jump in profits, a jump in the size of your business, only to find in a year or two from now you're facing so much of challenges with your financier, things at an operational level, start to, unravel a little bit. So it's important that whatever decision farmers take, they do it in a sustainable way. And that's where discussions with agribusinesses come into play. Ratsalani spoke about training, and that's something that the agribusinesses do very well because they've got the years of experience in all of the different components of agriculture. They're able to tailor-make training solutions for farmers. So farmers need to use those relationships. It's collaborative. It always is. Again, Ratsalani spoke about the organizations within the community to help with combating issues like stock theft, etc. There are solutions that agribusinesses are also working on, and one should not take that for granted. But again, go knocking on those doors to ask for that.
100%. Nico, from a financial perspective, from a banking perspective, I mean, collaboration is a lovely word. You know, you want to work with your farmers. What would you be looking for when a farmer comes to you and says, listen, I think I can grow my business. There's better market there or bigger market here. What are the first few questions you ask that farmer?
Growth is cash hungry. And therefore you need to make sure that when you want to grow, that your financiers, as Praveen mentioned, is on board, and that it is planned. Uncontrolled growth can get you in deep trouble. So one needs to make sure that you try and plan the growth as much as possible. Lots of things happen. The more you grow, the more different dependables come into play, and you need to understand that. And it's difficult doing it alone.
How does one manage those risks?
I think what is important is again to make sure that the areas where you are lacking in, that you do get support from outside to look at that. Also, growth in the agricultural sense, especially when you look at long-term crops, for instance, there's a capital barrier there. So one needs to understand when and how capital will need to be implemented to optimize that growth. And you need to go and make sure that the capital is available and what sources of capital is out there that you can use to fund that growth. Otherwise, you run into that cash flow gap.
Right, gentlemen, let me get some final thoughts from you, Ratsilani. Let me start with yourself.
From our side, good biosecurity principles plus good quality feed coupled with supplements equals healthy and quality meat.
Johan?
For the farmer to keep growing, he'll have to keep his biosecurity levels in place, and that can make his assurance for future growth.
Praveen, for yourself?
Yeah, I would say build very strong relationships with all of your stakeholders. Trust in each other certainly supports your growth.
And Nico, liquidity, liquidity, liquidity.
Yeah, short and sweet. Growth needs cash and cash needs planning.
Fantastic. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your insights today.
Thank you so much, Tony.
Pleasure.
So there you have it. Growth is possible even amid challenges, and you have the support of all these incredible institutions and people. Mzansi, don't forget you can engage with us on social media, #AfricanFarming, and you can find us on our website, africanfarming.com. And Mzansi, remember, we farm better together.